That man has a gun! The shout caused tourists to scatter as panic erupted near the Royal Guard's post. While everyone fled, Sergeant Emma Collins remained frozen in position, her eyes tracking the armed man approaching the royal family. Breaking protocol meant court-martial, but as the assassin raised his weapon, what she did next made history in the Queen's regiment. Before we reveal the full story, hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The crisp October air carried the scent of fallen leaves across Buckingham Palace grounds as Sergeant Emma Collins stood at her post, the scarlet of her uniform vibrant against the pale stonework. At 32, Emma had served with distinction for 12 years, including 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan, where she'd earned a military cross for valor under fire. Now, as a member of the Queen's Guard, she'd mastered the legendary stillness required of her ceremonial position. Most tourists assumed the Guard saw nothing, their 1,000-yard stares fixed on some distant point. They were wrong. Through years of specialized training, Emma had developed what her commanding officer called situational omniscience, the ability to observe everything while appearing to observe nothing. Through her peripheral vision, Emma cataloged the typical morning crowd: a school group from Manchester with matching blue caps, an elderly couple taking photos with trembling hands, a young family struggling with a stroller. Normal, expected, until something wasn't. The man appeared at the edge of her visual field, mid-30s, pale complexion, dark jacket despite the mild temperature. His movements lacked the casual wandering of a tourist. Instead, he moved with the focused intent Emma recognized from combat zones, the purposeful stride of someone with a mission. While others meandered and gazed upward at the palace architecture, he scanned security positions with methodical precision. Emma's pulse quickened, though her expression revealed nothing. The ceremonial rifle in her hands was unloaded, a tradition dating back centuries. The Queen's Guard weren't supposed to be actual security. Armed police and plainclothes officers handled genuine threats. Yet something about this man triggered the same instinctive alarm that had once saved her unit during an ambush outside Basra. The man's hand kept returning to his inner jacket, a gesture that sent adrenaline surging through Emma's veins. She recognized the telltale bulge beneath the fabric, the distinctive outline of a handgun. A young woman in a khaki uniform, palace security, had noticed him too, her hand moving to her radio as she began a casual approach. Too casual, too slow. The man had already slipped past the first barrier, using a tour group as cover. Emma maintained her statuesque position, only her eyes moving beneath her bearskin cap to track his progress. 2 more security personnel had spotted him, but they were converging from the wrong angles, unaware of his accelerating pace. Then, as the man passed a decorative hedge, Emma caught a glimpse of what he'd pulled from his jacket, a semi-automatic pistol with an unmistakable modification, a suppressor, not the weapon of someone planning to make a statement. This was the tool of an assassin who intended to escape. 300 yards away, the side entrance to the palace opened. A flash of recognition jolted through Emma as Princess Charlotte emerged, accompanied by Prince George and their security detail. The royal children were heading toward the waiting vehicle for their scheduled appearance at a children's hospital. The man changed direction instantly, his trajectory now aligned with the royal party. His hand moved inside his jacket again, more deliberately this time. "That man has a gun!" The shout came from an American tourist who'd glimpsed the weapon as the man's jacket flapped open in the breeze. Chaos erupted immediately. Tourists scattered in all directions, screaming and ducking behind anything available. The security detail around the royal children reacted instantly, moving to shield them and hustle them back inside. But they were too far away. The gunman was already raising his weapon, a clear shot presenting itself in the momentary confusion. Emma Collins faced the most significant decision of her career in a fraction of a second. The Queen's Guard had maintained their ceremonial positions through riots, terrorist attacks, and natural disasters. Breaking position without direct orders was court-martial worthy, a disgrace to centuries of tradition. Yet, what flashed through Emma's mind wasn't the rulebook or the consequences. It was the oath she'd taken when first joining the British Army. "I will discharge my duty in the defense of Her Majesty, her heirs and successors." The crack of Emma's boots against stone shattered 12 years of perfect discipline as she pivoted with military precision. In one fluid motion, she reversed her ceremonial rifle, the heavy wooden stock becoming a weapon in its own right. The gunman never saw her coming. Focused entirely on his target, he had dismissed the ceremonial guard as decorative, irrelevant. By the time he registered the flash of scarlet in his peripheral vision, Emma was already in motion, her body propelled by combat-trained muscles and protective instinct. The rifle stock connected with devastating precision at the base of his skull. A calculated strike, enough force to neutralize without killing. The man crumpled instantly, the pistol discharging harmlessly into the ground as he fell. Emma kicked the weapon away, dropping her knee into the center of his back as she pinned his arms with practiced efficiency. The entire sequence had taken less than 4 seconds from the moment she'd broken position. "Armed suspect secured," she called out, her voice carrying the crisp command tone of active service rather than ceremonial duty. The palace security team converged rapidly, taking custody of the unconscious would-be assassin. As they secured his hands with zip ties, one of them glanced at Emma with newfound respect. "That was," he began. "Necessary," Emma finished for him, already retrieving her bearskin cap which had fallen during her intervention. By now, additional security had surrounded the royal children, who were being ushered back inside the palace. Prince George looked back over his shoulder, his eyes meeting Emma's briefly. The boy gave a small nod of understanding beyond his years. Emma Collins returned to her post with the same disciplined precision that had characterized her 12 years of service. She resumed the position, eyes forward, expression neutral, as though nothing had happened. But everything had happened. Within minutes, her commanding officer, Captain Richard Wells, strode across the courtyard. His face betrayed nothing as he approached, but Emma knew this was the moment her career would effectively end. Breaking position was unforgivable, regardless of circumstance. "Sergeant Collins," he began, his voice pitched low enough that only she could hear. "You are formally relieved of your post. Report to regimental headquarters immediately." "Yes, sir," Emma responded, executing a perfect salute before marching away from the position she had occupied with flawless discipline until 20 minutes ago. As she crossed the palace grounds, tourists who had witnessed the incident began to applaud. Emma kept her eyes forward, her stride unwavering. Their approval meant nothing compared to what awaited her. At regimental headquarters, Emma stood at attention before a panel of senior officers hastily assembled to address this unprecedented breach of protocol. Colonel James Harrington, a 30-year veteran with a chest full of decorations, studied her with unreadable eyes. "Sergeant Collins," he began, his voice grave, "in your 12 years of service, you have exemplified the highest standards of the British Army and the Queen's Guard." Emma remained silent, awaiting the formal reprimand and likely dismissal that would follow this obligatory acknowledgement of her service. "Today," Colonel Harrington continued, "you broke the most sacred protocol of your position. You abandoned your post without orders." "Yes, sir," Emma responded, her voice steady. "The protocols that govern the Queen's Guard date back centuries, Sergeant. They are not to be discarded lightly." "I understand, sir." Colonel Harrington's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "However, I have just received a call from Buckingham Palace. The individual you apprehended has been identified as Alexei Volkov, a known associate of international terrorist organizations. He was carrying a loaded Glock 19 with a suppressor and 2 spare magazines. Analysis of his phone indicates this was a coordinated assassination attempt." Emma maintained her position of attention, though her mind raced with implications. "Your action, while contrary to protocol, undoubtedly prevented a national tragedy." The colonel paused, seemingly weighing his next words carefully. "The palace has requested you be recognized rather than reprimanded for your intervention." For the first time since the incident, Emma's composure faltered slightly. "Sir, there is a principle older than any protocol, Sergeant Collins. The first duty of any soldier is the protection of those we are sworn to defend. Today, you honored that duty at potential great cost to yourself." As this unexpected turn registered, the door opened and Captain Wells entered, carrying what appeared to be a letter on royal stationery. "This just arrived by special courier," he explained, handing it to the colonel. Colonel Harrington opened it, his eyes scanning the contents before looking up at Emma with new regard. "It appears Her Majesty has taken a personal interest in this matter," he said. "You are to report to the palace tomorrow at 0900 hours, full dress uniform." The following morning, Emma Collins stood in an antechamber of Buckingham Palace, her dress uniform meticulously prepared. She had barely slept, torn between relief at avoiding court-martial and anxiety about this unprecedented summons. The door opened, and a palace aide gestured for her to enter. Emma stepped into a small reception room where, to her shock, the Queen herself sat waiting. Emma executed a flawless bow, her training carrying her through the moment. "Sergeant Collins," the Queen said, her voice carrying the weight of decades of royal duty. "Please, be seated." Once seated, Emma found herself under the direct gaze of the monarch she had sworn to protect. "I understand there has been some concern about your actions yesterday," the Queen began. "Breaking centuries of tradition is no small matter." "No, Your Majesty," Emma responded, accepting what she assumed would be a personal reprimand. "Tradition, Sergeant Collins, is valuable precisely because it adapts when necessary. The Queen's Guard exists not merely as a symbol, but as the embodiment of protection. Yesterday, you reminded us all of that essential truth." The Queen nodded to an aide, who stepped forward with a small box. "For extraordinary courage and decisive action in the face of imminent threat," the Queen continued, "I am presenting you with the George Medal. Additionally, I am establishing the Collins Protocol, which will be incorporated into Queen's Guard training henceforth." Emma's carefully maintained composure faltered. "The Collins Protocol, Your Majesty?" "Yes. It formally authorizes guards to break position without prior command in the event of clear and present danger to the royal family or the public. Your actions yesterday weren't a breach of duty, Sergeant Collins. They were a reminder of what duty truly means." 6 months later, Sergeant Emma Collins stood at her post outside Buckingham Palace, the scarlet of her uniform bright against the spring blossoms. Beneath it, the George Medal rested against her chest, though no outward sign revealed its presence. Tourists still took photos, children still pointed, guides still explained that the guards never move, never speak, never break position. But now, sewn discreetly inside each Queen's Guard uniform was a small tag bearing new instructions. "Tradition honors the past, duty serves the present. When they conflict, remember the Collins Protocol." Emma's eyes remained fixed forward, her position perfect. But her awareness extended to every corner of the palace grounds, vigilant and prepared. Not just as a symbol of tradition, but as its defender. For sometimes, the greatest respect for tradition lies in knowing when to break it. Would you have had the courage to break protocol if lives were at stake? How do we balance honoring tradition with responding to modern threats? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful Royal Guard stories. Don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss our daily uploads. Share this video with someone who appreciates stories of courage and duty. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen right now. We'll be back tomorrow with another extraordinary tale of service and sacrifice from the men and women who guard the crown.